Hello and welcome back to the most amazing channel on the internet. I'm your host Rebecca Felgate, and today we're talking about the top 10 scary American mysteries. Hands up who's from the United States here. The United States of America has a vast population and a rich history, so of course there are many events that have taken place over its 242 plus years. We're just going to be talking about 10 of them, but honestly there are so many. Before we get into this list, I want you guys to let me know where you're from. If you're not from America, do let me know where you're from. I'm from the UK, but I live in Canada. Let's get some world chat going on in the comments section down below. And also while you're down there, why don't you leave a thumbs up on this video and share it with a friend. Alright, let's get mysterious. Coming in at number 10, we have the Blackbird deaths. This is a super weird situation from Arkansas in the small town of Beebe. Am I saying that right, Arkansas? I don't know, it's hard enough to pronounce Arkansas, don't even get me started on Beebe. It all began on New Year's Eve of 2010, practically 8 years ago to the day of this video being published. While the town was preparing for New Year, 5,000 blackbirds freaked out, started flying with total disorientation, and began slamming into buildings, cars, phone poles, trees, billboards. Birds began falling from the sky, landing on roofs, lawns, and backyards. This all went down at around 11 PM at night. People were really confused. Those who didn't notice in the evening found thousands of dead birds littering the ground on New Year's morning. Why? Well, nobody actually knows. The town was deeply disturbed by the deaths, but no cause could be found. In the end, town officials kinda shrugged and put it down to stress from early New Year's fireworks. The next year, fireworks were banned, but the same thing happened once again on exactly the same day. Nobody knew what this could mean, and they have no idea still to this day why it happened. It's a mystery. Okay, we have another classic one at number 9. We have Bigfoot. Ah, Bigfoot, the classic North American ape. Is this an urban legend or an unsolved mystery, or something between the two? There has been a lot of discussion about Bigfoot, the Sasquatch, over the years. The first Bigfoot sightings were made in and around the mid-1800s, but they reached a peak in the 1970s. There have been thousands upon thousands of sightings over the years, most often in the Pacific Northwest. The 1970s Sierra Sounds were very interesting recordings. These were made in California's Sierra Nevada mountains in collaboration with a newspaper journalist from Sacramento. The audio documented strange and unidentifiable sounds that many think is evidence of a primitive language. In 2007, a photograph alleging to be of the Bigfoot was circulated, although many people criticized it for actually being a bear with mange. Honestly, the mystery still lives to this day. Coming in at number 8, we are getting intergalactic as we talk about Roswell. On July 8, 1947, the Roswell Daily Record printed this as a headline: RAAF captures flying saucer on ranch in Roswell region. And with that, a legend was born. A lot of people out there are convinced that the initial reports of a flying saucer were legit, and what followed was a huge government cover-up. What actually happened, or what the official story is anyway, is that a highly classified US Army Air Force project went very wrong, and a silver balloon crashed into the ranch. When the ranch owner found the debris, he reported it to the police. Now initially the cover story was that a simple weather balloon came down, but later it was revealed to be a Soviet spy balloon. Again, this could all just be a story. There are eyewitnesses who reported seeing lights, and another who claimed to have actually seen an aircraft in the sky seconds before it crashed. Some even report having seen little humanoid creatures emerging from the crash site. The lines between fact and rumour surrounding Roswell are exceptionally murky, so the incident very much remains a mystery to this day. Coming in at number 7, we have the Watcher. Ah, the Watcher. This is such a creepy case, honestly it gives me the chills. The story of the Jersey Watcher likely began in the 1950s when the property was sold for $1, but it made major news stories in 2014. So basically, 5 years ago, a couple who had just purchased a huge property from the Wood family for $1.4 million started receiving weird letters signed from the Watcher. Who? The first letter read that the Watcher had asked the previous owners to move out to fill the home with young blood. Creepy. Creepier still, the first letter made reference to the couple's children. It stated, "Once I know their names, I will call to them and draw them out." Then, in a series of 3 letters, the Watcher asked, "Who has the bedrooms facing the street? I'll know as soon as you move in." They continued by saying, "It will help me know who is in which bedroom and then I can plan better." They also said, "All of the windows and doors allow me to watch you and track you as you move through the house." They claimed that they were the third watcher of the home. They said, "My grandfather watched the house in the 1920s and my father watched it in the 1960s. It's now my time. I have been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming." Like, what? The buyers understandably freaked out and started a lawsuit to sue the people who sold them the house. They stated that they knew about the voyeur all along. Police of course have pored over the letters, but they still have no idea who wrote them. Coming into number 6, we have the Amityville hauntings. So what really happened at the Amityville house in Long Island? We may never truly know. The story goes that in 1974, 23-year-old Ronald J. Defoe Jr. murdered his entire family while they slept in their beds. Defoe killed his 4 siblings and his parents in one murderous swoop. He said he heard voices that told him to do it. After a year, the house was eventually purchased for $80,000, although the buyers, the Lutz family, stayed for just 28 days because of the horror that they experienced. George and Kathy Lutz said that they saw slime coming out of the walls, knives being thrown from counters, figures wandering and wailing. George even said that he saw his wife levitating and an evil red-eyed pig-like creature glaring at him. Spirit hunters Ed and Lorraine Warren were brought in along with a priest. Now this was to rid the house of spirits. Our ghostly explanation? We may never truly know. Coming into number 5, we have the Mothman. The Mothman is an enduring urban legend from West Virginia that seemed to begin in November 1966. It then blazed hot for a year, went cold, but then re-emerged 50 years later. So back in 1966, 5 gravediggers in a cemetery in Clenadin claimed that they saw a man-like figure fly out of the trees and over their heads. Just 3 days later, 2 couples from Point Pleasant reported to police that they saw a large creature with red glowing eyes. In the days after, even more people reported seeing him, including 2 firemen who ought to be trusted sources. All of the descriptions seemed to match too. He was described as being human-sized and shaped with 10-foot wings and glowing red eyes. Then, 90 miles away in Salem, a homeowner saw a creature in the back of his barn with 2 bright red eyes. Had the Mothman taken flight? Strangely, the following year, the Mothman sightings were blamed for the devastating collapse of the Silver Bridge at Point Pleasant. Now this resulted in the deaths of 46 people. Then, all of a sudden, the sightings stopped. That was until 50 years later. Then, in November 2016, WCHS-TV published a photo from an anonymous source that people claimed was the Mothman. Yikes. Coming into number 4, we have the mysterious case of ELISA Lam. In early February 2013, 21-year-old Canadian tourist ELISA Lam went missing after a stay at the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles, California. A video was posted of her from an elevator security camera by police. This was the last time that she was seen alive. In the video, she is seen acting exceptionally strangely, very strangely. She presses a number of the buttons in the elevator and then the doors fail to close. She's then seen peering out of the elevator and trying to hide in the corner. She's clearly terrified. She then exits the elevator and seems to be pleading with an invisible person outside of the door. The footage ends with her walking out of shot and the elevator door opening and closing a number of times. Now on the 19th of February, her body was sadly found by hotel maintenance workers who had come to investigate issues with the hotel water pressure. It seems that she had been dropped dead into the water tank. She was naked and her clothes and her possessions were found floating next to her. Now her death caused a huge scandal for the hotel that actually seen other notable murders and deaths over the years. Now the mystery of her death has actually never been solved, with many suggesting it has something to do with the paranormal. The hotel was so affected they've had to rebrand. They're now called the Stay on Main. Maybe think about that if you ever go to LA. Next up, this mystery dates back to before America became a country, to the age of the first settlers. Coming into number 3, we have the Roanoke colony. In 1585, an English colony was established at the northern end of Roanoke Island. This is off the banks of North Carolina. 2 years later, in 1587, 150 settlers arrived on the island to join the colony, only they couldn't find anything. Well actually, not exactly nothing, they did find a human skeleton, but that seemed to be all that remained. mind. The theory was that they were driven out by native tribes. Colonist John White arrived to help set up the second attempt colony. He then returned shortly after to England to get further supplies. When he returned back to the island in 1590, there was nobody around. All of the buildings that he had known had been dismantled, and there was no sign of the 150 people who had arrived on the island. All he found was the word Croatoan carved into a post and the letters CRO carved into a tree. Where the settlers went and the reason why there's never been any trace of them found is still the topic for constant historical debate. Answers range from famine, absorption into tribes, and of course the supernatural. Whatever happened, we honestly may never know. Coming into number 2, we have the Alaska Triangle. Now, on doing some research on American urban legends and mysteries, I found out that Alaska actually has a very scary unsolved mystery associated with it. Now, I want to dedicate this one to our fan Samantha Texeria, who requested an Alaska urban legends video because that's their home state, but they can't get back there right now. I really hope that we can do a whole video on Alaska for you, but I hope that this suffices and wets your whistle for now. So basically, there is a part of a state between Juneau and Yakutat, then up to the Barrow Mountains and Anchorage. This seems to be a hotspot for strange disappearances. Vast numbers of locals and tourists alike have vanished without absolutely any trace whatsoever. Additionally, planes have also disappeared here or crashed without any discernible reason. According to MysteriousUniverse.org, 16,000 people have gone missing here in the last 30 years alone, never to be heard of again. I've always wanted to visit Alaska, but honestly, this mystery is more chilling than their frigid weather. Finally, coming into number 1, we have one of the most famous American mysteries of all time. We have the mystery of the Zodiac Killer. The Zodiac Killer refers to the antagonist behind a spate of murders in the 60s and 70s in Northern California. The killer terrorized San Francisco, claiming to have killed 37 people, although there were 5 confirmed victims and 2 survivors. The killer gets their name from the symbol they used to sign the letters and ciphers that they sent into the police or left at the crime scene. Only one of these cryptic messages was ever deciphered. The victims who survived were able to give descriptions of the killer at large, but to this day he's never been found, although the good news is that the killer may still be caught. In 2018, the previously unsolved case of the Golden State Killer was caught using modern DNA identifying technology. So guys, wow, that was an adventure, wasn't it? That was the top 10 American scary mysteries. Which did you find the scariest? Honestly, all of them are pretty chilling. I'm like pretty scared to go back to America now. So guys, don't forget to let me know where in the world you're from. I honestly would love to know. Should we make a mystery video for your country? Honestly, I'm really up for doing British mysteries or Indian mysteries. Maybe our top 10 Hindi channel can give it a go. So guys, thanks again for watching. Do make sure you leave a thumbs up on this video and share it with a friend, and come on back for more Most Amazing Lists. I'm your host Rebecca Felgate. Have a lovely day. I'll see you next time.